When you're young, curiosity can lead you down unexpected paths. A friend of mine introduced me to Dream Market, a hidden marketplace on the dark web where he regularly bought Adderall and weed. He trusted a particular dealer and passed along their details, urging me to give it a shot. At the time, I didn't think much of it, just another spontaneous choice that I didn't realize would stick with me. My plan was simple: buy some Adderall to help me stay focused on my senior projects. But after completing the transaction, I couldn't help but explore the rest of the site. What I found went far beyond what I expected. Drugs were only the beginning. There were counterfeit money listings, stolen credit card details, and even real weapons for sale. The more I scrolled, the deeper my curiosity grew, pulling me further into a side of the internet I never imagined existed. At some point, I found a link somewhere on Dream Market that led to what I assumed was a drug chat room, because it was filled with people advertising the substances they were selling along with their prices. I found it interesting, just reading through the various offers. Among the messages, I noticed that some people were posting random.onion links. Out of curiosity, I clicked on one. It brought me to a black page with the title Home Base displayed at the top in large text. Beneath that were a bunch of other random links. I clicked on several of them, but most didn't load. Probably dead links. A couple of them did work though. One of them led to another chat room, but this one didn't have a title. There were only 3 users in the chat, all with usernames that looked like random jumbles of letters, just like the one I had inputted, not really caring what my name was. The chat's history showed that a few people had been talking in another language before one person started typing in English. That person was still in the chat. Before I could even type anything, they sent me a message. "Yo." I typed back, "Yo." He immediately asked, "What you looking for?" I responded, "I don't know, LOL." He asked how I had found the link, and I told him I got it from some site called Home Base. I asked if he had any cool links, since it was my first time on the deep web. He typed back, "Lol," and then sent a link. He didn't say anything else. I clicked the link and it took a little while to load the page. The first thing that appeared was a black background, then a small text box near the bottom. The last thing to load was a video. At first I thought it was a pausable video, but it quickly became apparent that it was some kind of live stream. The footage was black and white, showing a dark room with what looked like mannequins sitting in wooden chairs. The video had a grainy, distorted quality to it that made it feel surreal and unnerving. I couldn't tell if I was watching a live feed or a pre-recorded video. Then, as if it were some kind of horror movie jump scare, what I thought was a mannequin suddenly jumped up and sprinted toward the camera. A loud, staticky screaming sound accompanied the movement. My heart dropped. The apparent porcelain mask the person was wearing got so close to the camera that the screen became completely black. I immediately went back to the chat and typed, "What the hell is this?" The guy replied, "Just keep watching, LOL," and then he left the chat. I switched back to the other tab, but the video window was gone. Now, it was just a blank screen with the same text box at the bottom. I tried typing into it, but it didn't let me enter anything. That's when my Tor browser window suddenly closed, without me doing anything. Then, out of nowhere, a deep, raspy voice came through my speakers. It was clearly someone using a voice changer. The voice said my first name. Then, they claimed they had all my files. At that moment, my webcam window popped up. I saw my own face staring back at me on the screen. A wave of fear crashed over me. Heart pounding, I shut my laptop and rushed to Best Buy, where I had originally purchased it. Desperate for help, I went straight to the Geek Squad and explained everything. The technician listened carefully before telling me that whoever had accessed my computer had likely pulled basic details, like my account name. His advice was clear: perform a full factory reset immediately. Since I didn't have anything important stored, I agreed without hesitation. He guided me through the process, and once it was done, I left the store feeling shaken but relieved. That terrifying experience was enough to keep me away from the deep web for good. If you ever consider exploring it, take precautions. At the very least, use a VPN, even on so-called safe sites. You never know who's lurking in the shadows, watching your every move. I should have left it alone. It began as a mindless dare, a way to pass the time on a dull Friday night when the beer was running low and boredom had settled in. Kyle was obsessed with the dark web, always going on about the hidden corners of the internet where normal rules didn't apply. To him, it was a forbidden underworld, a place where you could buy illegal drugs, forge new identities, hire someone to do the unthinkable, or worse, stumble across things no one was meant to see. I never believed him. It all sounded like an overblown myth, a creepy internet legend meant to scare people. But Kyle wasn't just talking. He had been diving into those depths for years, lurking in encrypted forums and disturbing chat rooms, uncovering sites that made 4chan look like a kid's playground. He had seen things he insisted no one should ever witness. That night, with a mischievous grin and alcohol clouding his judgment, he challenged me to go further than I ever had before. I hesitated, staring at the screen. The glow from my laptop was the only light in my apartment, flickering slightly as I copied the Tor address Kyle sent me into the browser. It was just a jumble of numbers and letters, no context, no warning. Something in my gut twisted, telling me to stop, to shut the laptop and pretend I had never been curious. But I wanted to prove I wasn't scared, that all of this was just some elaborate hoax designed to freak people out. So I clicked. The page loaded slowly, the screen remaining black for several seconds before a single line of white text appeared. "Welcome to the farm." No images, no further explanation, just a simple login box beneath the text. Kyle messaged me again, his words appearing on my screen almost instantly. "Just type guest." I did. The page refreshed, and then I saw it, a live stream, a real one. Not some grainy, pre-recorded video designed to look authentic. This was happening right now. The camera feed showed a dimly lit room, bare concrete walls, a single flickering light bulb hanging from the ceiling. And in the center of the room, sitting in a metal chair, was a young woman. She couldn't have been older than 20. Her face was streaked with tears, her blonde hair matted and tangled. Her wrists were bound tightly to the armrests with thick zip ties, so tight that her hands had gone purple. A strip of duct tape was plastered across her mouth. Her eyes darted around the room wide with panic, as if waiting for something, someone. My stomach turned to ice. This wasn't a prank. This wasn't a sick joke or some internet horror game. This was real. Then I noticed the chat beside the video. Messages were pouring in, usernames scrolling by too fast for me to process. First, I thought they were panicking too, reacting in horror to what we were all witnessing. But then I actually read what they were saying, and my stomach lurched. "Lot 4th looks healthy. I want to see her try to run. Bidding starts in 5 minutes." My eyes flicked to the bottom of the page, where a countdown timer had just appeared, ticking down from 5 minutes. I scrolled down further, and my breath caught in my throat. There were more videos, multiple live streams, each showing a different room, a different girl. Some were crying. Some were too terrified to even make a sound. All of them were tied up, their eyes filled with the same vacant, hopeless look. It was an auction, a human trafficking auction. My vision blurred. My hands shook as I hovered over my keyboard, my brain screaming at me to do something, anything. I needed to tell someone, call the police, report this to the FBI. But I just sat there, paralyzed, my body refusing to move as reality crashed down on me. Then, a new message appeared in the chat, one that made my heart stop cold. "New viewer detected, guest 3759. That was me. I was being watched. Before I could react, another message popped up in bold red letters. "You have 60 seconds to place a bid." Panic surged through me. My hand slammed the laptop shut so hard the sound echoed through my apartment. My pulse pounded against my skull. My breath came in short, ragged gasps, and dizziness threatened to make me sick. This wasn't just some dark corner of the internet. This was a real operation, run by people who had just seen me enter their world. My phone buzzed. I flinched, staring at it like it was a live grenade. My fingers trembled as I reached for it, every instinct screaming at me not to look. But I did. Unknown number, one new message. "We saw you." A cold sweat broke out over my skin. I felt like I was being watched, like I wasn't alone in my own apartment anymore. My hands shook as I typed a response, my fingers barely able to function. "Who is this?" Another buzz, another message. "Don't go to the police." A loud knock shattered the silence of my apartment, sending a jolt of fear through me. My pulse thundered in my ears as I scrambled to react. Ripping the battery from my phone, I wiped my laptop clean, yanking every cable from the wall in a frenzy. I shoved everything into a trash bag, jumped in my car, and drove for miles before tossing it all away, my hands trembling on the wheel. That was the moment I swore off the dark web for good. I never spoke of it, never dared to look back, but even now, I can't shake the feeling that someone's still watching. I never involved myself in drama. In a small town like Ashford, Maine, where everyone knew each other, I preferred to keep to myself, just a few friends, some coworkers, and no enemies. My life was predictable, my days filled with routine. After work, I'd cook a quick meal, sit in front of my laptop, and mindlessly browse forums, occasionally posting on Reddit. It was just something to pass the time. That night was no different, until I noticed a message request from a user with a deleted account. The message was cryptic, urging me to check my spam folder. Against my better judgment, I opened my email and scrolled to the spam section. One subject line stood out, written in all caps, "I know who you are." I hesitated for a second before clicking on it. The body of the email was a nightmare: my full name, my home address, my Reddit password, and a demand for $5,000 in Bitcoin. They claimed that if I didn't pay, they would make my life miserable. My stomach dropped. I had never felt so exposed, so vulnerable. My first instinct was to cover my laptop's webcam with a piece of tape. Then I rushed back to Reddit to see if the user had responded to my question about who they were. There was nothing. I reported the account, but I knew it wouldn't do much. Panic set in as I reread the email. How had they gotten my information? Was this some elaborate scam, or was someone actually watching me? I sent a reply, demanding to know who they were and if this was some sick joke. Within minutes, a response came back in all caps. "No, TS is not a joke. We have all your information. Pay now or regret IT." My mind raced with possibilities. Was this one of my friends messing with me? I frantically messaged them, practically begging for someone to admit it was a prank. No one did. That only made things worse. I started thinking about work, wondering if anyone held some secret grudge against me, but I got along with everyone. Then, I noticed something strange. My taskbar had turned darker. At first, I thought it was a glitch, but when I minimized all my windows, my stomach twisted into a knot. My desktop wallpaper had changed. The new image was a photograph taken from outside my bedroom window. The white frame of the windowsill was clearly visible, along with the reflection of the camera flash against the glass. My heart nearly stopped when I realized what else was in the picture. Me, lying in bed, sleeping. Before I could process what I was seeing, a Windows error sound played, and a pop-up appeared on my screen. The message inside was simple: pay. I slammed my laptop shut and held the power button until it turned off. Every instinct in my body screamed that I needed to get out of there. I pulled the blinds down and grabbed my phone, immediately calling my parents. My dad didn't hesitate. Within minutes, he was at my apartment, helping me load my most valuable belongings into his truck. As we left, he shouted into the night, threatening whoever had done this, but I was too consumed with fear to care. I spent the next few weeks at my parents' house, avoiding my laptop entirely. I blocked the email address and refused to engage any further. Eventually, the messages stopped. A few days ago, I returned to my apartment, convincing myself it was finally over, that whoever was behind this had given up and moved on. I tried to fall back into my normal routine, but nothing felt the same. The silence in my home wasn't comforting. It was suffocating. Every shadow seemed darker, every noise louder, every movement in the corner of my eye enough to send my pulse racing. I checked the locks twice, then 3 times. I shut the blinds and ignored my phone, terrified of another message, another reminder that I wasn't alone. But no matter how hard I tried to push it away, the feeling never left. Something was wrong. Every night, I lie awake, listening, waiting. The air in my apartment feels thick, like the weight of unseen eyes pressing down on me. I jump at the smallest sounds, the floor creaking, a soft rustle outside, the wind tapping against the glass. I haven't gone to the police. Maybe I should have. Maybe it was just an empty threat, but deep down, I know that's not true. Someone is still watching, they're waiting, and I don't know how much longer I can pretend I don't feel them there.